All right, Dad, I'm scrolling through social media one night and I came across this guy named Myron Golden, and he's got like 1 million followers. And yeah, so
that's a lot.
Like big presence, but I've never heard of him.
Okay.
And so like when I work out in the morning, I like to listen to like, I don't know, a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was putting on his stuff, and he's really good. I really like the way he talks, the way he describes things, the way he teaches and educates people.
Right.
And I wanted to pull up this clip because I had really, really high thoughts of him. And then I watched this and it kind of changed a little bit of how I feel. And in general, I think he shared a lot of truth, but let me pull this up.
Okay. Let's see it. What do you got?
You take your entire paycheck, you deposit it into the home equity line of credit to pay down your mortgage. You then write all of the checks for your bills out of the home equity line of credit. You use money from your home equity line of credit to pay your mortgage, your electric bill, all your other bills. You will pay off your mortgage, depending on how much money you make, in somewhere between 3 and 12 years instead of 30 years. Whatever you do, don't...
Okay.
Alrighty.
So that first half, he's talking about getting a HELOC, and using that to pay everything.
Right.
And so you live life on this lower interest rate, including credit cards.
Right.
It's a smart idea.
It is, as long as you know what you're doing.
Well, I guess the way he described it, and I just feel like the average consumer thinks like this is like a magical thing.
It's not.
You're right. It's been around for decades.
Right. So, number one, an interest rate on your HELOC is going to be higher
than your mortgage.
So why would you do that? Well, obviously, interest rates on your credit card bills are going to be higher than the HELOC. The other thing that's interesting about a HELOC, if you make a payment and you say all of this is going towards principal, and you do it when it's not due, like in the middle of the month, and I'm not sure how many lenders do this, but I know that several do, that you can make the payment, and so you can make a payment like once a week if you want. If you get paid once a week, you can pay it down, and that stops the interest. And I think that's what he's getting at.
Right.
If it stops the interest and pays down the principal, and then you start building again, and then stops the interest and pays down the principal, instead of waiting a whole month and that interest accrues, you're paying it down. But what are you missing out on if you do that?
For me, it's time value of money, right?
Well, there's a couple things. In today's interest rate, we're talking a lot higher HELOCs. So I'm not sure when he made that, but you know, it could be 8 to 12% on a HELOC. So the interest rate may not be as attractive as what he's talking about. The other thing is he's saying take your entire paycheck and put it towards your bills. Mm-hmm. Well, what if you can't manage your money, and what if there's an emergency? What if there's a lot of what ifs here?
That's coming out of the HELOC, right?
Right. It's coming out of the HELOC, and that gradually grows and grows and grows. Well, the other part of this is if you have a financial planner and he's listening to this, he's going to say, well, what about your 401k? What about your IRA? What about your retirement savings? You have zero. He's saying pay off your mortgage.
Yeah, we're paying off the mortgage as soon as possible. This strategy
if
works.
If that's all you're focused on, that works.
Yeah. I think what he's not taking into consider, or what people don't, they hear this and they're like, man, ring in their ears like, this is the way to go.
It's not for everyone, though. If you make more than what you spend, this will work. If you have children and you have life happens and you have things that car breaks down,
retirement,
all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I'm taking out more and more and more out of this HELOC, you can get in trouble really quick. So you got to be careful with that. But that would be my caution on what he's talking about. But yes, in a lower interest rate environment, what he says will work, but you're not going to have reserves. You're not going to have retirement funds. You're not going to have, a slush fund for, I want to go on vacation. It's all coming out of the HELOC. So as long as you're making more, and in his case, if he's paying it off that quick, it's going to be quite a bit more. Then that's what's going to happen.
Then this strategy works. We're not against the strategy. You just want to make sure people are aware of what you're giving up.
Right.
And again, for me, maybe because I'm younger, I'm thinking about, okay, how do I save for retirement? It's the money you put in up front that helps you grow
Grows
and
you
compound
for a long time.
So time value of money is incredibly important, and if we're
Right.
staving that off, you don't get to enjoy
Right.
the appreciation of that. So,
Anyway, it does work to an extent, but it's not universal.
yeah. So that was part one. Now,
Okay. We got more.
Part one. I'm like,
Yeah.
what he's saying is true. There's just other things to take into
Yeah,
consideration.
you need to be aware of.
There's part two, and this is where I start to have a problem. So right here you can see he's saying don't ever refinance, and here's his thoughts.
Oh
on
my
why.
gosh. Okay.
Oh, let me get it over here. Here we go.
Ever refinance a mortgage. Refining a mortgage to get a lower payment is a con job. They tell you, the bank tells you, the storyline they give you is that, well, you get a home equity line of credit to lower your payments. But you buy into that. But what they know that they're not telling you is when you refinance that mortgage, you restart the terms of the loan. So now it's a new 30 years.
All righty. He's misinformed here.
Right.
Okay, you have the choice. Right. You can do anywhere from 10 years to 30 years. If you have 25 years left on your mortgage, you can refinance to another 25 years if you want. And sometimes I've had people say, "Hey, I want to pay off my loan quicker, and if I go to a 15-year and they can afford it and they qualify, the interest rate's even lower and they pay it off even quicker."
Yeah.
So that makes no sense what he's talking about here.
Yeah. And again, just basic. If you're going to pay interest on a loan for 30 years and we can shorten that, let's say rates come down,
Right.
which means monthly payment comes down. And let's say you lower it to 20 years, but you keep the monthly payment around the same. So you're comfortable with that payment, but you've taken off 10 years of interest rate payments.
Well, I advise young people to do this all the time, is where they go with the 30-year. Because, again, life happens.
Refinance into another 30 year.
Yeah,
Restart the
refinance
terms
into another
like he
30-year.
said.
And
But the payment's
according
gonna be
to
much higher or lower.
No, it's going to be lower.
Right.
But according to him, you shouldn't do that. I say do it. You're going to save money. If you have extra money, put it in if that's what you want to do, and that'll pay down your loan quicker. And it snowballs. The more you can pay up front into a
You're
loan,
paying down the principal, which is going to lower the interest,
Right.
which is going to lower the years on the term.
absolutely, and that's automatic. It works. But if okay, young couple, kids, life happens, car breaks down, kid goes to the hospital. There's lots of things that can happen, and all of a sudden you need some money in reserves. You need something, and if you have a high payment, boy, you're in trouble. So I tell them go with a 30-year, and then as you have extra money, pay it down, and you still have a lower interest rate, and you have flexibility.
Right. And people, especially like the Dave Ramsey camp, will say, get a 15-year only.
Right.
Do all that. You can get the 30-year and pay double as if it's 15, and it will be 15. It'll
Right.
be less than 15 to pay double, but
Right.
it'll be much less. And then if there's an emergency, you're still okay.
You're okay.
So
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors and nuances.
Be aware of the
and
different options.
The
Boy.
dogmatism.
Well,
that he's
and the
approaching
other
this.
thing that, in 2008, there was a real estate crash. Okay. Congress came in and there was a lot of laws passed. We're in a highly regulated industry. And before that, we weren't as regulated, and there were some bad actors.
Right.
And so he may be referring to somebody prior to 2011-ish, when these laws were not enacted. Now you can't even refinance somebody. Government
not
will not let
beneficial.
you unless there's a benefit, a proven benefit to the person refinancing.
Yeah. So, and we'll continue. I don't know if there's much difference.
Okay, let's see what else.
The majority of the payments for at least the first 7 years goes to interest. So you're going to end up paying more at a lower interest rate with a lower payment on a refi than you would have ended up paying the bank if you had just kept on making the same old mortgage payment.
You know what's funny is he contradicts himself because he talks about
Well, he's right in the fact that most of your payment goes
Up
towards
front is-
interest
right.
up front. But what if you have a bonus and you say, hey, I want to pay this off and I want to get rid of my mortgage in 20 years instead of 30 years, and you pay that in, guess what happens?
People got down the interest
Automatically, that interest goes away.
So he talks about the HELOC and he says, hey, let's make extra payments towards the principal. It's going to lower your interest. And
Yeah.
he says never refinance because if you do that, there's going to be interest up front. It's the same with the HELOC.
Well, yeah, why doesn't he just
It's
say,
the exact
take
same
your
thing.
bonus, put it in, and it'll pay it down quicker.
Yeah.
And the more bonuses you get, pay it all down, and it'll pay it off.
and
It's the exact same strategy.
The other thing that was frightening for me was looking at the comments in here and just the amount of people who are uninformed and uneducated. I don't know what this guy, he makes a lot of money. He's a business guy, you know.
Well, he makes some points, but he doesn't explain them.
Right.
And so you think, oh my gosh, everybody's a crook here.
Some of the things he said is true, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's just more nuance in every situation.
He doesn't explain why. And if you know the whole picture, then you can pick which side of the, what you want to do.
Yeah. So, anyways, I thought this would be fun to do a little reaction video with my dad and get you guys to see our thoughts on this video. But in general, Myron Golden is fantastic. I enjoy what he says, but it's one of those like kind of stay in your, if you know what you're talking about, you can talk about it, but don't present just one side. There's more to
he's
it.
nice. He's not a lender, I don't think.
No,
I doubt it. So, but he does have some good points, but they're not always valid in every case.
Yeah. So we'll wrap this up, but I guess our thing is always, if you want to know where you stand in terms of home equity or buying a home, talk to a lender.
Start your HomeQuest.